Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Cassandra Vanzant. Before I bring her on, just a couple of announcements. You can always get new episodes free on Rokfin, Odysee, and all podcast platforms. Check us out on Rokfin. Click that link in the description. You're going to get all of our premium video content that you can't get on any other platform. And best of all, you get all the awesome content from every creator on Rokfin. Check out the podcasts that we feature on the Forbidden Knowledge Network. You get those on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, and follow us on Facebook. Those links are all in the description. Finally, check out C60 Purple Power. This possibly may be the most powerful antioxidant known to man. The benefits have been personally amazing. Click the link in the description. Check out what they can do for you, and you get 10% off your order plus free shipping. Today I want to welcome back to the show Cassandra Vanzant. She is a psychic and educator whose journey began 25 years ago after a harrowing near-death experience. This life-altering event served to become the rite of passage, which awakened her latent psychic abilities. Since that fateful day, she has sought answers and insights from the unseen realms of spirit guides, angels, and extraterrestrials. She has expanded her private practice to the teaching arena with in-person or online classes about learning tarot. She also serves as an ambassador and celestial interpreter of the star families. Cassandra, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Chris. Thank you for having me back on.
It's great to have you back on. It's been a very long time. We have a
It
lot.
has been.
Yeah, we got a lot to catch up on because a lot has happened. We live in a completely different world than a couple of years ago. And I like
Right.
to say if I was in a coma during that period and I woke up now, I would think we live in a completely different world. I think the world's gone mad.
I
But
would think you'd want to go back into a coma if you did.
yeah,
So,
you're right for sure. But I'd love for the audience to once again hear about some of your profound personal experiences since it has been so long, as well as some of the insights into what we are experiencing today, some of the profound changes, and what could be possibly going on collectively, because I know that a lot of people are having this kind of awakening, because there's no better
oh
term
yeah.
for it. But since it's been a while, tell us again how this all started for you. How did these abilities manifest for you?
Well, to put it simply, I died. So when I died in a car wreck, that's when this all started because I died, but I also um, was open to a lot of different things when I died. So, would you like me to tell you what happened
I
as soon
would,
as I
because yes,
died?
I
Okay.
would love the audience to hear this story, especially if they haven't heard
Okay.
it before.
Okay. It was Thanksgiving night, the most wonderful time to get in a car wreck. And it was in I believe, the late 80s. And uh, my first husband was driving a truck and he decided to pull in front of a van in the middle of an intersection. So as soon as he did that, then what happened was I went through the windshield and then I came back again inside the truck and then was lodged underneath the dash. So, needless to say, as soon as my head hit the windshield, I was out. It was solid black. And I don't remember them cutting me out of the truck. I don't remember anything until I got to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, they were pulling me out of the back of the ambulance and it sort of jiggled me a little bit. And I remember waking up like for 2 seconds and then I just, you know, went out again. And then the next thing I know is I wake up again very briefly and I'm in a room by myself and I have a sheet over my head. And I remember I'm just lying there and I see this, I know there's a sheet over my head. And then all of a sudden I just let a breath out. It wasn't, it just, and my soul came out with that. And I was hovering over my body. And I mean, this happened quite a while ago, but it still seems like it was yesterday. So I'm hovering over my body and I'm looking down at it and I'm like, you know, it didn't freak me out. It didn't scare me, nothing. I'm just like, eh. So I started to float. I'm floating. I'm going through the different floors in the hospital, and seeing the wires, and then coming out, and then I finally ended up on the roof. So I'm kind of floating above the roof, and I'm looking around, and it's night, and it's in Phoenix. So there's a lot of hustle and bustle going on. And I remember looking up at the stars and thinking, just thinking, not saying it, I just thought it. I want to be there. And I was. So it was like maybe a split second later, I am up in the cosmos. And I'm kind of, floating around. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm dead. I know I'm dead. And I was looking for God. So I said, okay, I know I'm dead, God. Where are you? And I was out there just kind of looking, and it was like really cool and quiet and big, and it was expansive. And then I look to my side, and I see an older man walking out of a door. And he walks out of this door that, of course, wasn't there in the first place. But he walks out of a door, and he comes up to me, and he says, would you mind coming in here and talking to me? We have something to tell you. Okay. I said, I'll go with you, but remember, I'm dead and I'm looking for God. So I, have to go pretty soon. And he goes, okay. So I walk into this door, and in this door inside was a room. And it wasn't a very big room, but it was all white. And I remember this person was my spirit guide. And he talked to me, and I couldn't remember what he said. So before you ask what they said to you, it's like, I don't know. But then he said, okay, now here's your angel. So I walked over into the other corner, and there was an angel there. And this angel was just like you think, this angel was huge. They had huge wings. They were very beautiful, the whole thing. And I talked to my angel. And then I had one last person or being to talk to. So this was my ET, my extraterrestrial. So I walk over to him, or however you want to say it, and we started talking. And I said, okay.
Now, what did these entities kind of look like at that time?
My guide was an older man. He had white hair, had a white beard. He looked just like like a fatherly type of person. He was human. He looked human.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your spirit guides are those people who have lived here on this earth, and then they've died. They've gone through all their karma, and they get a chance. Do you want to come back, or do you want to, help someone? So this spirit guide was human.
Mm-hmm.
Human looking, older, but kind. You just felt, no judgment, no nothing coming
Right.
from this person. My angel was really tall. I remember that. It was a female energy that I got, and the wings were like huge. And I remember I had to look up. Even though I'm floating, I'm like looking up. And just the most beautiful face I've ever seen. I mean, just so peaceful, and loving, again, loving. And then I go over to my ET, and my ET was kind of like a cross between, what I want to say. He had some kind of outer, not skin, but something that would protect his body over him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say it's not like reptilian skin or whatever, but it was like a coating that was protecting his body. And the eyes were big, they were dark, and the face was kind of came to a point. And that's what this person looked like, or this being looked like.
Was it
And
taller
there
as well?
was really, to tell you the truth, I mean, the angel was taller. The is about the same size as my spirit guide, so about the same size as a average man.
Interesting.
And I'm just kind of looking at him, and I'm pretty short, so I'd say maybe I don't know 5'6" or something like that because I'm like 5'3" at the most. So I had felt no threat at all from any of these people or that being. And the interesting thing is when I'm quote unquote talking to them, I am speaking to them telepathically. So no words. My lips don't move. I'm mind to mind.
Hmm.
And so I'm done with my ET, and I said to my spirit guide, I said, okay, I'm done, and I really have to go because I'm dead, and I need to find God. And he says, all right, not a problem. So off I go. The door goes away. I'm by myself again. And I look up and I see this green emerald tunnel. So I started going through it. It's like, let's go. All I had to do was think. It was the coolest thing. You just think and you're there, you're doing something. So I started going through this green emerald tunnel. And the feeling that I got when I was in this was like I was being enveloped in love. I mean, just it wrapped around me. It was just the most wonderful feeling. And then I was looking up and I saw this little pin light, a brilliant, bright light. And I said, well, that's God. I'm going for it. So I'm still, I had a sense of humor. So I'm still going there and I see it and I go, okay, God, there you are. And I go right into this energy. Chris, this energy was something you can't even call it a brilliant white light because that doesn't describe it. It was it was the most intense, loving, warm, I mean, anything that you can think of, light. And it was an energy. So that was God. It was a God energy.
Hmm.
And I remember talking in there because that's all I did was talk when I was there. I was talking to God. And the only thing that I remember when I talked to God was I remembered saying or asking, can I stay? And the answer I got was not yet. And as soon as I heard not yet, I bounced back into my body. And boy, did I hurt. I mean, I hurt. So everything came back. You're in your body and it's battered, it's broken, it's bruised. And I jumped a little bit, and that's somebody was walking by, a nurse was walking by. And so I find myself in the emergency room and they're sewing up my head, which it was split open from like here all the way down to here, and you could see my skull. So they're stitching up everything, and I remember telling them, I need to go home tonight, and they're like, I don't think so. I said, but I don't have insurance, and they go, that's okay, you. And then I remember the plastic surgeon gave me a mirror, and he showed me what my head looked like, and I went, okay,
Oh.
maybe I'll stay. So that I, I went to my room and I stayed all night. And the next morning I did go home. But I remember that everything had changed because I came back and I was still connected to those beings and entities. I still have that. And I'm talking to them. I'm hearing them in my head and I'm talking to them. And, nobody else hears it, of course. And I did that for probably a good year. I didn't let anyone know, that I was talking to these people. It was just my thing, and plus they think I was crazy. So I ran into a friend of mine. Actually, she was a very good friend of mine. Um, and she said, you know, let's get together, let's talk and everything. I said, okay. Well, she's the one who introduced me to the tarot cards. And, we were really into, talking about metaphysical things. And I was a newbie. And I remember telling her my story. And I said, I hear these people. And she goes, well, tell me more. And well, that just opened the whole floodgates. And I'm like, you really want to know? She goes, yeah, I want to know. So I told her, but then I didn't tell anyone else. And I really dove into the tarot. She bought me my first deck of cards because I think she was tired of giving me readings. But she bought me my first deck of cards, and I really dove into the tarot. And when I was talking to her, I would be getting messages for her, and she was like, how do you know this? I said, I hear it. I don't know what else to tell you. I just hear it. So it kind of just developed and developed and developed. And um, I found out about my spirit guides. I really found out about angels. And it wasn't until probably, I don't know, 6 years ago or so that the ETs started to come through me. And I got to thinking, it's funny because it was like the way that I was introduced to them, spirit guides, angels, and then ETs last. So it was going in order. And when I started to get in touch, or when my ETs started getting in touch with me, it started with me just all of a sudden, like if I was driving, I would start speaking in this language. And I didn't know what it was, but I couldn't stop it. And it was kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, something would happen that was really good for me. And then I found out later, when I actually knew that I was talking to the ETs, that what I was doing, it was kind of like a prayer. And it was a prayer for, they would let me know to what prayer to send up for whatever it is I needed. And then it would come to me. I didn't know. But then that I kept extremely secret. I didn't let anybody know about that. And did you know Cynthia Crawford?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, you would have loved her. She's fascinating. She was the ET sculptor, so she did a lot of ET sculpting. And I remember I met her in Laughlin, Nevada, at a conference, a UFO conference that they had. And I walked by her booth and I'm looking at some of these things, and I stopped, and then she starts talking to me like, hi, how have you been? And I'm like, do I know you? And she says, oh, yes, we've been together on the ships and everything. I went, what ships? But we developed a really, really good friendship. And I remember that I was going to give her a reading one day, and I getting ready to give her a reading. I'm nervous. Cynthia was like way up here to me.
Huh.
And I said, okay, I'm ready to give you a reading. So we're on Skype. And before I got on Skype, my people, as I call them, everybody together is my people. They said, you're going to give her a message in the galactic language. I said, no, I'm not. they said, yeah, would you do this for us? And I went, no, I can't do that. No, would you do this? And I went, okay, fine. So Cindy gets on there, and I said, okay, this is what they told me. I'm supposed to be giving you a message in the galactic language. And she goes, just a minute. And she gets off of the Skype, and then she comes back, and she has a recorder. And she goes, okay, I'm recording this. And I'm like, oh, God. Really? And so she recorded it, and she kind of sat there and went, I've never heard anything like this before. And I said, well, this is just what they're giving me. So that started the whole thing with the ETs and getting in touch with them and giving people readings from their star families and answering questions and drawing their star families images and the whole thing, and then giving the psychic readings, and it just started with me dying.
Now, with these star languages, do they give you translations to these?
Yeah, it's a very few and far between that they won't. So they will give me a translation, and if I'm giving that to a client, I will let them know I'm going to give you their message. If they translate it, great. It'll be right after it. If they don't, then you just take in what they said and take in the vibration.
Right. Man, that is really interesting. Now, I'm wondering if you could tell us if you know if there is some sort of hierarchy amongst these beings, the angels, extraterrestrials, even spirit guides. If it seems to be that they're working together on some kind of cosmic level. Do you know if there's any kind of hierarchy amongst these beings?
I don't feel that there is. I feel they're all equal in their own right,
Hmm.
and not one does this thing, one does that thing, and the other one does this one. It kind of all just blends together to work out for the best and highest good of the people that are affected by this or who are looking for their spirit guides.
And would you say that these entities are all just different types of interdimensional beings, or is there a kind of fundamental difference between angelic entities and extraterrestrials?
Difference as far as the way they look and
Right.
as far as their vibration goes. I
I
mean,
see.
there's very different vibrations because people will ask me, how do you know you're talking to your angel? How do you know you're talking, to your spirit guide or this ET or, my spirit guides or my angels? And I say it's because there's a different vibration that you get from each one of them. At least I get from each one of them. So, for example, if I'm giving a psychic reading and a presence is there, I will say, I feel that this is a male presence, a female presence, an older one. But then I sometimes will feel that spirit's energy that they had here. So if they were really funny, if they were really upset, I get a lot of those. People who feel lost, kind of looking around. So I get a lot from energies. That's what I get from.
So you were talking about tarot and how you integrate tarot into your readings. For those that aren't familiar, and I myself am not even that familiar with tarot, could you tell us how you use tarot for what you're doing?
I use the tarot cards as a focus point because what I do, I get all my information comes telepathically. So when I lay out some cards, I'll look at them, and when I look at them, then that's when I start seeing things. So I see them in my third eye. I start hearing like this is what's going on with this person, but I use it as a focal point to get um, right into the thick of things. There are some people who what's it called, psychometry, so they can pick up an object from someone and get the information off of that from that person's vibrations. I don't do that. It never works out for me. But the tarot is a great tool in order to do that. And I've actually had some people because I teach the tarot also, and I wrote a little workbook about it. Um, I've had some people that would lay down the cards and they'd say, well, this person is saying to me, and I'm like, oh, you're going to do well, because they'll look at a card, like for instance something like this, and they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, this is saying to me this. This is what I hear. This is what I feel. And I'm like, cool, that's the way you need to do it because it's all about feeling. It's a tool for me. So people are like, well, why do you have to use cards? Because that's the way I work. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but that's the way I work. I have a great psychic that I go to for my own readings. I go to her once a year, and she doesn't have to use anything. And
Hmm.
I'm like, man, that would be really cool. But that's just how she works.
Right.
So we got to look at, we're all different, but um, like each psychic is meant to reach certain people. And those people know that whatever it is that you use is okay. It's okay with them. I've had so many people say, well, if you use those tarot cards, oh, that, that sends shivers down my neck. Then I'm not going to get a reading from you. I'm like, okay, I don't have a problem with that, and see you later.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because they think the tarot is evil,
Hmm.
and it really isn't. If people really knew, what about playing cards? Are those evil? So the
Right.
tarot just happens to have different pictures on them that represent different people or things that are going on in your life. So it's paper. That's it. And you look at it when you're drawing the cards, your higher self is, you shuffle, then you draw the cards. Your higher self is putting these cards out for the answer to your question. So there's nothing that's random, nothing at all.
Now, are you getting different types of messages from different types of entities? Do they serve different purposes when it comes to your readings?
When I'm doing readings, I get messages mainly from people's past loved ones,
Hmm.
someone who's passed on. A lot of times these people will come through and they will be saying, uh, warning someone about something, here's a caution about this, or they're going to be really giving them, the what to and how for and tell them to straighten up. I mean, I've had that. It's like whoever this person is, they're coming through like they want you to straighten your act up. And they, if you don't, then, this road you're going down, or they're going to send someone that's going to help you, or, whatever the deal is. But when I'm doing specifically a star family reading, I get their star families that come through. So I also get people who want to know um, who are my guides, what are my guides' names, and same with angels. So whoever they want to connect with is what I get.
Now, when you say star families, you mean angels, spirit guides,
No,
ancestors,
no,
extraterrestrials?
ETs,
ETs, okay.
ETs. Yeah, because that's what I call it, star family readings. And people will want to know, where did I come from? Because we all come from the cosmos. We all come from this space that we were created from. And we just chose to come down to this earth. So we still have what I call the star family. So the from the stars. In fact, that's what they told me to call them. So okay, I will. So they want to know, where did I come from? What is my ET origin? What do they have to say to me? Why am I all of a sudden so interested in this? Or can you explain to me why? I have this feeling that I was on a ship. I love those when when people say, well, like kind of I was kind of on a spaceship, and I went, oh, well, tell me more. And then
Right.
they'll go, what? And so I want to know, I believe me, if you knew what I saw in my head, you'd think I was crazy, but I don't think anybody else is. this is all real, very real. I was reading something in a magazine today. I thought it was so funny, and because it was like a science magazine, and there was a article in there about, are we ever going to connect with aliens? And I'm reading it and I'm thinking, well, I wonder why, they're talking like this, because they're saying, well, they probably don't look like that, like us. They're probably like amoebas, or, little worms crawling around, or they are, uh, how else did they put it? It was basically they don't look like us, so they can't
Mhm.
talk to us or whatever. So the chances of us actually making contact are like zero. And I look at this and I go, wait a minute, just because you can't have lunch with them does not mean that they don't exist. And also, I make contact with them. I don't understand what the deal is, but you got to look at it this way. Would you come down to visit Earth with the risk of being uh, put away? It's like people here would be afraid, first of all, and then the powers that be will try to take you and experiment on you or kill you. Like, I don't think I'd want to come here
Right.
in like the form, the bodily form. But there are those that are still walking around here, but obviously they've taken on human form, and that's smart. So when I'm doing that, I'm just I the article was just so ridiculous and one-sided, but it was also people just thinking with their minds. So when you get out of that head space and drop down into, the heart space, the intuitive space, then you know that things can happen. Instead of, well, the chances are very unlikely, you know, slim and none. Like, yeah, I I wouldn't want to have lunch with you either.
Yeah.
So just because you can't see them doesn't mean that they're not there. And that's one of the things my clients will say, well, I just want to see them. Well, do you really think you're ready for that?
You're absolutely right. Since you've been on my show last, I had my own personal contact experience with my
Tell
spirit
me.
guides. It was actually through meditation. It's a very long story. I've done a couple of shows about it already, but in short, through meditation, I made contact with, I believe it was my spirit guides. Received a lot of profound information about myself, and amazing things have happened since then, based on the changes I've made because of the information I received. So it's very very amazing experience. But you're absolutely right about being ready. I did not have that experience until I went seeking, and I knew in my heart I was completely
Right.
ready to experience this. And they even told me that I was ready, and let's have a conversation. It was amazing. It was completely psychic, just like you said. Instantaneous, beautiful psychic communication.
Right.
But yeah, that's a whole different show. But it was a beautiful experience, and I can just attest to that. You do definitely have to be ready. Now, while we're talking about extraterrestrials, I'd love to know, based on your experiences, do you think that there are different races with different types of agendas for humanity? And what is their larger role when it comes to, are they just ancient ancestors? Did they have a part in creating the human race? Based on your experiences, what can you tell us about that?
Different agendas? Yeah, definitely. So there are those who want to destroy, they're a warring type of civilization, I guess. The reptilians, there's the Dracos, there's a lot of different uh, warring people, or I mean ETs, that want to destroy, but there are more that want to help the human race than destroy it. So just look at it this way. If you look above the earth and you see like lots of ships and they're fighting and they're one's trying to keep the other away, there's always a conflict. There's always a warring faction because the good is trying to keep the evil away, because there are agendas, just like people. We have a good agenda, we have a not so good agenda. So that's what we look at here. It's the same thing. But I also look at it this way. Some people say, well, if they're here, then why don't they come down to save us?
Yeah.
Well, they're not here to save us. They're here to help us. Why do we need saving? Are we that pitiful? We're not. They're here to help us. So if we work together, then people like me and other people who work with the ETs to help other people, then we're opening all that up. So that's the biggest part that I see as far as agendas go. We all have them. We just, the humans who have bad agendas hook up with the ETs that have bad agendas. And the same, for the good. So everything works out the way it's supposed to. And that's when people come to me, like we were talking before the show, you can't do this, or you were just saying with your spirit guides, you can't do this unless you're ready. There's that part of you inside of you, and that's the biggest part that you have to remember. It comes from the inside out. So you start feeling this feeling inside. It's like, well, I really want to learn about this, or why did this happen to me? And that starts it going. So some people will look at it and go, oh, it's a coincidence. Oh, there's nothing out of that. Well, that's the way they want to live their life. But those people that get that and go, ooh, wait a minute, maybe there's something there. And what they do is they start to look. So they seek and then they find. So they'll look online and they'll be looking at psychics, or they'll be looking at this or that. And they find who it is that they know they need to speak with. I mean, I remember having this one lady from France call me, and I said, so how did you find me? I'm always curious how people, get a hold of me. She goes, well, I knew that I had to look for someone. I didn't know who it was. So I started looking online. And she said, as soon as I saw your picture, I knew it was you.
Wow.
Okay, here I am. Let's talk. And I was telling you before the show that you had re-aired our last show, and that was like from 2 years ago. You re-aired it, last week?
Yes.
I think. And there were 2 people that got a hold of me from that. So it's perfect timing. When you're ready, then you get these signs. If you're ready, you get a sign. You also follow up on it. If you're not ready, nothing is a sign. You're just going through, this life.
And wouldn't you say following synchronicities and paying attention to things like that is super important, and it can lead you in really important directions, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. But you have to say, okay, I'm ready. And then you look for things. And as soon as you see something, what you do is go, okay, that's a sign. Now, what do I do with it? Because the more you accept the signs that they're giving you, I've had answers come to me on I got in my truck one day and I never play the radio. It just irritates me. I never play the radio. I get in my truck one day, turn it on, and the radio starts playing. And the answer to my question was in the chorus. It started playing the chorus over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, well, thank you very much, because I never turn my radio on.
Yeah.
It's just you look at all of these things, it would be great if they could write it in the sky, then it would be unmistakable. But when you say to them, okay, I'm ready, this is, I'm following through, I'm looking, for these signs, and they're not like something you have to look under a rock for. The universe knows what you need, and as soon as it happens, then it will click in you. Have you ever thought of someone and all of a sudden they call?
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at these things. Why did they call? What is it that I need from this? It's exciting. It's really exciting. When I talk about this to people, it's like it's so exciting. You don't know how exciting it is because where it leads you is like unimaginable places. It really does.
Yes, and I can personally attest to that. I've had some amazing things follow synchronicities in my life. Now, before we move too far away from the extraterrestrials, I want to know if what your thoughts on our creation. Did they have a hand in it? Is it somewhat like you hear in the Anunnaki mythos, or is it that they don't aren't able to interfere in certain aspects of humanity? What do you think, based on what you've learned with your experiences?
Well, my gut feeling, and I know about the Anunnaki and the books and stuff, what the slave race or something like that, I think it was called.
Right.
That feeling, the first thing that I get from that is I don't feel it. I don't feel that at all. I don't
Mm.
feel that we were created for them uh, to do their bidding or to, have a slave race. If anything, they just took humans who were here to make them slaves, to while they were there,
Right.
because I don't feel that's just my feeling, and I have to stick by that. So, what was the other part of your question?
Well, if they had any hand not only in our creation, but in our kind of development and our evolution, or do they have a like prime directive where they can't interfere? Only, maybe helping us along if we ask for it, like we were just talking about.
Helping us along and hindering us. Yeah, both ways. Yes, they can interfere. Again, look at them like humans. We do the same thing. We
Mm.
can help someone or we can hinder them. But I don't feel that they had any part in our creation, and I do feel that they can step in and mess with us or lift us up.
Yeah. Now, do you get any sense that there is anything on the horizon when it comes to extraterrestrial contact on a grand scale? We have these little kind of instances where the government comes out and shows us this information and kind of
Yeah,
teases us with this and reels it
yeah.
back, and we've had that going on for a few years now, and then now it's crickets when it comes to UFOs in the mainstream once again. But do you
Mhm.
think that there's any kind of reasoning behind that, or that we may see something on the horizon to where it's undeniable and people may just have open contact again?
Let me put it to you this way. I only wish that that will happen. I really do. Um, I don't foresee it like in the near future. So we're talking, I don't know. A near future to me is like 6 to 12 months.
Right.
Okay. I don't see it in the near future, but I don't see it in the far future. So what I'm looking at is like when the government says, I love the headlines. Government says there are extraterrestrials. Really? Well, now we can all believe, can't we? Because they said that there's extraterrestrials. Well, no kidding. That, oh, okay. Well, we'll believe it now. But it's about the people, the more people who are awakening, I feel will bring the most contact. Okay. So for right now, We have too much other crap going on, but there's also some people who are reaching out to me and saying, what can I do? What am I supposed to be doing? What's my purpose? What's my mission? I know I'm supposed to be doing something, and it's to, help humanity. Most people don't realize too that a purpose or a mission doesn't mean it has to be something spectacular.
Hmm.
It could just be like me living in my little town in Nevada, and I'm, reaching out to people here as well as in the radio, and they find me, and this is one of my purposes and missions.
Right.
It's I feel it's going to be on get to go on a larger scale very soon. I don't know how, I don't know when, why, or where, but I know it's going to be a larger scale because it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. So
And
everything is perfect timing.
well, speaking of timing, you and I were talking a little bit before the show about this kind of awakening that we're seeing. You mentioned it just now. I'd like to get your thoughts on what could be behind it all, why now, and why are certain people just coming online? It's like, even for me, it happened a few years ago, around 2012, but I was sleeping for years and years, and all of a sudden, I'm curious about, what's beyond spirituality, the paranormal. My government's been lying to me, all these things that I never thought of before. And all of a sudden, I'm
Yeah.
just like snapping awake, and I see people on a massive scale that this is happening to right now. What are
hmm
your thoughts on why this is occurring at this time?
it's like I tell my clients, it's because when we come here to the earth, it's a good thing. The bad thing is we forget everything that we're supposed to do. So we have it all planned before we come down. We choose our spirit guides, we choose our angels, we choose our mission, our purpose. We have everything planned out. Then we come here and we forget it all. But there's that inner clock that says, okay, at this time, on this date, you're going to start feeling this. It's not because you've been, um, hypnotized or anything. It's because it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen at that time. Like there are no coincidences. So all of a sudden, you get this feeling, and you're like, I wonder why that happened all of a sudden. Because your alarm clock went off. And the great thing about it is that you can choose to let it keep ringing and hit the snooze every once in a while and it keeps ringing, or you can turn it off and get up and see, why is that going off now? So you don't have to wake or awaken. You can stay asleep. But most of us who go for that calling, and I kind of feel it's a calling because you feel it coming out of you. It's like, I need to go wherever, and I need to find this, and I need to help this person, or they need to help me. So you feel that awakening, and then you act upon it. And it happens at that time and that day. And I always tell people when they call me, it's like, you're supposed to call me. You were supposed to listen to that radio show. You were supposed to do this. You were supposed to do that. So there's no coincidence. That's the biggest thing that I keep telling people. No coincidences at all. This is the way it was supposed to be. This is the plan. So when they're coming to me to be uh, woken up about their ET family, or they're coming to me to see, okay, is there more to the spirit world than what people say? Somebody passed over. I want to know if they're okay. I want to know this. I want to know that. And if you can give me the answers, then I'll know that there is such thing as life after death. No,
Uh,
it's just the timing.
Well, I also get the feeling that massive amounts of people are awakening right now, also because of the the dystopian
Right.
future that we're facing, some of the
Right.
things that is happening behind the scenes. And I think that, not only are people just awakening, but they want to do something about it. They don't want to live in the future that they see unfolding before them. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, we don't realize that history kind of repeats itself, actually does repeat itself. So I've had people say to me, "Oh, it's just getting so bad. It's, food's gone up and this has gone up and this has gone up." Well, is this the only time in history that that's happened?
Hmm.
No, it isn't. Is this the only time in history that we've had the plague? No, not really. So it just keeps repeating. But now it's getting to the point where, okay, we can actually change it. So if you don't learn, you're going to repeat it again. So now these people are waking up to help us not repeat it again. Instead of going along going, oh, well, it just happens every so many years. So what are you doing? You're just bringing that to you every so many years. It doesn't have to keep going like that. Do you want to live in that? No. Do you want to make things better? Of course. So if you're wanting to make things better, then how do you do it? By waking yourself up. That's how you do it. And that's when that part of you triggers you to say, hey, I can actually do something. What am I supposed to do? And then you start going for it. Because until you have that catalyst or that awakening, you're just kind of going along in, mediocrity and just living or kind of living life. But there's a reason that each and every one of us are here. So we bring we bring like I have people here that everyone that we come into contact with, we're supposed to come into contact with. We travel in soul groups, the closest people around us. So from that past life to this past life, we have, these people that we've traveled with. And then we go on to other lives. But now we have, okay, I'm going to do this right now. This is what I'm going to do because I couldn't do it before. So now I can. I mean, look at the technology. We can reach out to people in a split second. We have more than we have had before. So that means we have, the more wherewithal to move ahead instead of stay the same. And that's where these people who are awakening,
Hmm.
they're going, okay, I get it. There's something I need to do. Now, these are people that are, see, we have people that are being born now. So the crystal children, um, it escapes me the other names. But anyway, we have these children that are being born now that are born with amazing gifts.
Hmm.
They could play, the piano, they can sing, they can, they have the biggest minds in the world, and they're, very good at math. They're very good at science. And then we have people like me, who I'm from a generation where it's like, all right, I'm going to um, go through whatever I've gone through, and then all of a sudden I'm going to wake up. So I'm kind of like a late bloomer, is what I want to say. you know?
Right.
But this is the time I was supposed to wake up. But then now you have all these other people, the children that are being born that are not, they don't have to wake up. They just come with their gifts. And then they start changing the world.
That's interesting. For me, after I had my contact experience, I also had this really large awakening of intuition and kind of intuitive abilities that I didn't have before, and I was more sensitive to a lot of things. Is that something you find happens to people often that have profound contact experiences and, like for you, near death experiences?
Right, right. It's a I don't want to say a shock to the system, but it shocks you into um, it's like a car with a dead battery.
Mhm.
So you put on the cables and it shocks it back to life. So now it knows how to run again. It knows how to do this and do that. And it's the same way with people. We're running low on juice on our batteries, but then all of a sudden we get that shock and we're ready to go. And we start seeking wherever it is. It's like, I want to know this, I want to know this, I want to learn, I want to wake up. When I'm teaching people, I'm telling them that what they're doing is they're not really learning, but rather remembering, because it's all in us. So when we're remembering, it's because we came here with this, and it just kind of, oh, okay, I remember that. I remember I'm supposed to do this. I've had people read books. I've given them some spiritual books, and I said, "What do you think about it?" And they said, "Well, everything that was said, I kind of already knew." Interesting, huh?
Yes, for sure.
Because it's already there.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Now, to close tonight, I'd love to hear your insights into the future. Do you get the feeling that our future is going to be better? That we may be entering better times after a little bit of turmoil that we're experiencing? How do you feel about it in general?
I feel that there's going to be um, a big difference in thought. So, with that being said, I'm talking about the thoughts that we put out. It's like to the collective unconscious. So, we either put out thoughts of being scared or thoughts of this or that. And that's what we've been going through the last couple of years because of, the frenzy, the media frenzy,
Hmm.
and everyone giving us the doom and gloom. And oh my God, we're going to all run out of toilet paper. What are we going to do? So that put all that fear out there. Now I feel what's happening is during this time that some of us had really downtime. We couldn't go out or we couldn't do this or that. It's made us go back into ourselves and made, if you didn't build a bunker, then you are looking at it like, I'm going to do it differently and I'm going to see what I can do that will make everything better. So you send these thoughts out to the collective unconscious, and a thought will change everything.
Right.
So I mean, for the whole world, just a good thought, just saying this is going to happen or this is going to happen instead of the doom and gloom, we can make it happen. We can do these things. So it's my answer is it's up to the human race if it's going to get worse or if it's going to get better. Be
Yeah,
careful how you think.
there's profound power in the power of positive thinking and the manifestation that can come with it. That's another thing that I've witnessed firsthand. So you're absolutely right about that. If people just started thinking differently, I think the whole world could change. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and it does make a difference because our thoughts are very, very powerful. So everything begins right here,
Hmm.
and then it comes out your mouth. So whatever you're thinking and visualizing, then look at it like, never say it can't get any worse. Never say that. Just just look at it like, I'm going to be one of them that's going to make it better.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely right. That was great, Cassandra. Thank you so much for coming back on. Before you go, tell the audience if they'd love to find out more about you, have a reading, social media, website, all that good stuff.
Okay. You can find me at CassandraVanzant.com. That's where you can learn a little bit about me. You can book your readings on there if you want. Um, I can draw your star family. I, can help you and teach you. I do classes, whether it's in person or over Zoom or Skype or whatever. Um, if you're ready, get a hold of me. That's the best place.
Awesome. Well, Cassandra, thank you once again for coming on. That was awesome. And we're going to have to do this again sometime in the future.
Yes, yes, I'd love to.
Excellent. Well, until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening, and we will talk again tomorrow.